how to strip them. And I thought I'd spend a little bit of time just going over some cars that I've made. And I also wanted to touch on some of the vehicles that I've collected over the years that are either just odd or things that I'm interested in. And on the customs, it's just going over some of the cars that I've made, as well as cars I've bought or have gotten out of collections that I've purchased. So we'll start with the cars that I've made. And this one is a Tamiya Toyota GT1. What I did was I used a BRM chassis, and I had to cut the chassis in half. I think you can see it right here. So I cut it in half and had to lengthen it just the width of that brass rectangular tubing. Since no one else had one and I wanted one, that's what I had to do. It runs pretty good. It's not gonna set any records or anything, but for what I wanted, just a nice car to run around the track and enjoy the scale portion of it, it does pretty well. And in the same Tamiya line, I had this Mercedes, and it runs pretty good too. And on this one, I didn't have to do any modification. The Toyota chassis fit this one pretty close to perfect. If you look at the front wheels, wheel alignment, I probably could have done a little better, but there was such a little bit to stretch that I just kept it the way it was, and it works pretty good. So went ahead and painted it, decaled it, and the only thing I've yet to do with this one is put a driver in it. This particular kit did not come with one, so I just have to source one and put it in there, put him in there, or I guess her technically. But yeah. Let's see, what else did I paint? Oh, this one was a lot of fun. This was a resin body that I got off eBay. And since my main business is Ford and Lincoln Mercury car parts, I felt the need to have a Ford 1956 F100 pickup. The body, it needed, I don't want to say a lot of work, but it needed work to fill in any imperfections, and you had to grind out the windows with your Dremel or tool of choice, I suppose. And then I put a piece of flat stock styrene as like a little tonneau cover. So, and then I used just a basic generic chassis that you can slide to stretch, shorten, and you make your own little mounts. It's easy. Put in a little Carrera figure that I had in the grandstands. So I just cut him off at the waist and threw him in there. And I really like that blue, like metallic flat. I think it looks pretty good. Again, usually when you use chassis like this, it's not going to run the best, but it is cool to drive around and just, again, enjoy the scale racing of the truck. And with this one, this is my truck hauler, like you see on our website. I'm missing the rack, if you will, the handles on either side of the tires. They look kind of goofy just sitting in space, like how are they not going to roll away, but it's alright. I'll make one or something. So yeah, I painted up. It's a Ford cab over. That was my dad's favorite truck, so it just happened to work out. Then with this, it has a resin chassis. It's pretty basic. Again, it gets the job done. You're not going to race this anyhow, but I've got some NSR truck tires, and I cut down some fly truck rear axles to get them to fit inside the insert. Took a little while to get it right, but it came out pretty good, I think. It also has, you know, ramps that come out. Normally I'll have like my Shelby Daytona sitting on there. Just looks cool, vintage looking hauler. Put him over here. What else? Oh yeah, I made a Nomad wagon. This was a time I was on a flat paint kick. The inserts, I think, are probably some of the best available. Unfortunately, the company that makes them will not respond to any of my emails. I'd like to stock them, but they have chose to not allow me to carry them, so it's kind of a bummer, but you know, I get it. Everybody's got a club, and I'm just not in that one, I suppose. But again, I use the same basic stretch out chassis. Again, it's not great, but it does give you the option to, you know, put it on a lot of different things. These exhaust pipes, I believe they came off of the Deacon Monza, the the Carrera car. I parted out a ton of them, and I just took the exhaust pipes off because, you know, people that like to model them, I mean, it doesn't, I can't really see that far, but it looks kind of cool having the exhaust come out the side. So these actually slide up between the actual chassis from the model kit and the body, and they pinch in there pretty well, so I just leave them sit in there. But yeah, it's a cool car, and it runs pretty good. Again, you're not gonna race it. Then I got this guy. It's a model kit that came in a collection I bought and thought it would be kind of fun to build. It's like a 90s era pickup truck. Again, I used the flat styrene to put the tonneau cover over it. This one's got a little lady Carrera driver sitting in it. And that same, you know, somewhat generic chassis. Runs, I'd say they all run about the same. And let's see, just a few more before we get on to buddy. So some of you may know I have an original Mini myself that, you know, is a real car, and this is another Tamiya kit. Tamiya, I'm not really sure, but mine's a left-hand drive, so I had to put the steering wheel on that side. Union jack is the same. I had a guy make all these decals for me. It's got the Sprite and the Union jack for the top. I used a Electric Camaro chassis for this one. I did have to cut it. This was in my early modeling days as far as slot cars go, so it's kind of crude, but it does the trick. Car runs around great. It's a fun one to drive. Here's another one I did. My wife's from Germany, so I did one with the German flag, and this one runs really well. For whatever reason, probably because it's a little bit off in the front, but I didn't have to trim the chassis on this one, so that worked out well. Just do that one as is. And this one, I wonder why that was, but this one I extended as well. So a little Japanese flag on top, looks pretty sharp. All right, now I want to talk about, so I got one more. I made a go-kart. I got this from a shop over in Germany. I used a Carrera Go digital chip, so it is digital. And you can see the sensors right here. It's all resin, and they send you the kit. The body comes in, you know, the white resin color, and it runs good. It's kind of an interesting build. It's fun to drive around. It wasn't cheap, and you know, if you don't have enough people willing to pay that price for it, it's kind of pointless to have as far as racing goes. I'll put it on the track. It's one of those cars you grab once in a while, throw it out there, and hey Seb, what's up? Actually, you're the one that probably helped me with this as far as making it digital. Alright, here's another one that Seb helped make digital, I believe. I don't think it came like that. No, you would have done that. So it's a sidecar from BRM. I get a lot of people asking about these, but when they see the price, I don't think a lot of people want to pay that much for it, which I can't blame them. It's not cheap. I think they were about 140 bucks, 150 bucks. They run pretty well. Again, it's kind of like the go-kart if you don't have a bunch of people with them. It's just a car that you pull off the shelf once in a while, drive it around, enjoy it. But, I mean, they did a great job. The decals are great. I think it came with two other drivers. Well, this driver and one other. So you could change, you know, what they were doing on the back. In real life, these guys are absolutely crazy. On the last two custom cars that I have were made by a long-time friend customer. This started out life as a Electric Camaro. And if I'd have thought about it, I'd have shown you the original that it started as and what it finished. So he's a fantastic modeler, and he got these fender flares right. I've had this car for probably 15 years, and it's just, every time I show it to people, they're just in awe of the modeling. I probably should put some better wheel inserts, or wheel inserts in general. Would probably make it look a little better, but that was back when most of those parts weren't really readily available. And then here's another one he did. That was the Mustang, and I thought I had one of those sitting next to me, but I don't. Again, huge fender flares. Both of them used the slot.it HRS chassis. And let's see. Yeah, he custom made, you know, the side skirts, the mufflers, little chin spoiler there. I mean, he did an awesome job. He's on Facebook. If you're on any of the slot car Facebook pages, you've seen his work. He does great stuff. These are, I forgot about these. These are some of the Carrera cars that I did. That's my police car. The light bar does work. It's pretty sweet. Looks good running around the track. Here's my safety car. Again, the lights work. I used the gray Audi R8 pace car for both of these as a donor car. I'm happy I built them, but when you look and see what the cars that I used to make my Carrera custom cars, what they're priced at nowadays, I probably would think again. No, I'd still do it. And this is the last. It's a Tamiya kit, Porsche slant nose, that I took a BRM chassis and cut it short to make it fit. I think Carrera needs to make one for us all. I mean, look at that wing. That thing's killer. Martini paint job. So that's some of the custom cars. And then I'm going to go over a few cars that, like I said in the beginning of the video, cars that either caught my eye or you just don't see. They're hard to find. Oh, there's the electric version of the Tamiya that I did. These cars are a blast to drive, but they are a handful. So, I got this one in a collection that I bought last year. Pretty sure this is the first 360 guide car that came out. The tires are pretty hard, so you can't really drive it per se, but I got a little engine under there, and the 360 technology is pretty interesting on this one. They've since upgraded their 360 guides. They're actually pretty fun to drive. I really wanted to have a Nissan Z race because they have them with the 360 guide, and it would be kind of fun, I think, because if you get too fast and your car's going the other way, and you may have one guy get 20 laps, you may have one guy get 6 just because he can't control the car, because there's a lot of drifting, and like I said, if it gets too far around, you're going the other way, and then you got to go to the next turn, try to kick it back around and get it going in the right direction. This is a new one that just came out. It's an Avant race van. It comes with a stack of mini lights. It is too tall to go under most overpasses, unfortunately. And I'm not sure that they wanted people to actually use this thing, because these tires are rock hard right out of the box. So what I did is I found, I think these are Super Tires 1302s that I got to fit on here, or they're the 1107 from Electric. I had to look at my paperwork. And once you put that on, it runs pretty good, actually. But the body and frame are separate from the chassis. So you can undo these 4 screws, take the chassis off, work on it, and leave the rest all together. But as far as the look and the tampos and everything, they did a really nice job. I had one similar to this as a Hot Wheel. That's what really made this catch my eye. The printing looks like a water slide or some sort of tampo, but it looks cool. I like it. This one, a US distributor, when they were getting sideways, brought this car in. And I thought it was an interesting car, but didn't think a whole lot about it. And I just happened to see that when he built this car, or had it brought in, my name was as one of the drivers. I thought that was kind of strange. I wish he'd have told me ahead of time, and I probably would have bought a couple more. But yeah, that was kind of cool seeing your name and other racers that are in the hobby on there. These are cool too. Little sidecars from Electric. They're really hard to find, and when you do, usually they want quite a bit for them. I was able to look for them over time, and I found quite a few of them. There's there's probably, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 that are like actual race looking paint jobs. And then there's one for each of the Power Rangers. I was never a Power Ranger guy, but you know, if you have these, you might as well get those. Go with some vintage Electric. These look like, I believe, yeah, that's a seat. I could be wrong, but I think that's the Fiat, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, they're both a seat, but the hood emblem looks more like a Fiat, but it clearly says seat on the front. So it's just a, you know, they're vintage chassis. The guide pin is just a little, just that, a pin. They don't run that great, but they are fun to tool around. And while we're on the mini cars, I got some of these in a collection that I bought. They are really wicked. They're from a company out of Italy. And supposedly they are all handmade. Look at that. That is gorgeous. I mean, the wheel inserts are killer. Aluminum wheels. I believe it has an aluminum chassis in it. That is just so cool. And then I have another one that has the trunk opens, or is open, so it can let the heat out while you're racing. Pretty cool. Get that tape out of the way. Very nice. And my understanding is these cars were, man, the wheel inserts are really cool. These cars were nearly $200 if you were to buy them overseas. And that's, sounds like a lot of money, but if these are truly made by hand, I'd say they're pretty much worth it, because they did a great job. The paint's great, the decals are great. I've not run them because I'm afraid. I don't want to mess them up. I feel terrible. Like that Thunder slot. That's trying to make this my last vintage car for this week's race. I just added different inserts to kind of match the yellow. And if anyone's had Le Mans miniatures, I'll be the first to tell you, they're not for everybody. If you're someone, like I have a few customers that are, they're really into the model racing portion of it, not so much the racing and going fast and whatever. And if you're that guy, then Le Mans miniature cars are definitely for you. They do a fantastic job. Again, they don't run that well, but they do, you know, look like the real thing. The body work is phenomenal. I mean, you probably can't see it, but that little antenna, I mean, they put all the details. They got photo etched parts. You know, the driver looks fantastic. I don't know who makes a better driver than that. But again, some of them came with slotted parts, so that one probably ran favorably, but I think their chassis are resin chassis, so that really doesn't give you a whole lot of play when it comes to tuning these. Some of the rare, I like to collect all the Electric Porsches from back, you know, from 2000 or so, so I'm into this body style for the Electric. And, oh goof, somebody tape that shut and I'm not going to break the seal, but that's the collector center one. That's true. I agree, Doug. If you're into the scale scenery and all that, the Le Mans miniatures are an absolutely fantastic. There we go. So they have like the Flying Lizard of this, the Red Bull, there's like 2 limited editions, a Swiss one, they got a Yankees one. I mean, there's a whole slew of them. Every once in a while you'll see them pop up on eBay. This one's another limited edition one. Got my $1 million bill behind it. But I enjoyed looking for all these. There's probably a couple I'm missing for sure. For those of you that are into MotoGP, Electric came out with their version of the motorcycles. They did a pretty good job detailing them. I think the biggest issue I have with these, well, there's 2. One, the tire rides in the groove and the traction's not superb because the wheels, or the tire's a little bit hard. It could have been softer. And I seriously doubt anybody made a silicone for this. And the other thing I didn't care for is when you go around a turn, your guy goes around a turn, you know, like this, straight up and down. Looks a little goofy. Originally they were top heavy, as you can imagine, and then they supplied us with a weight that would fit perfectly on top of the skid plate, and that helped out a lot, but still it just didn't take off. Just wasn't good enough. Then probably around 2010, I guess, there was another company came out called Bikemo, and they offered this one. Similar setup as the Electric, except it had a double guide, as well as like your RC cars have the trigger with the wheel that you can turn. And that's what this one had. And when you would turn the wheel, the driver and rider, bike and all, would, you know, rotate over. So it actually looked like, you know, somebody was actually riding it, and he wasn't going around turns straight up and down. But these were extremely expensive for the time. Nowadays, it might fly, I'm not sure. But at least when they were released, it was a little expensive, and I don't think anybody in the U.S. brought these in. Hey, Seb, can you do this on your own time? Just kidding. What's up, Jamie? I don't get to see like all the live feed on the side because I'm using an iPad, so it just pops up a little bit here. So if I don't catch it or catch one of your questions, sorry. You can post it again. Now everybody has seen this. Oh, for online? Good luck. I'm going to get on until I get tired of talking, I think. Probably another 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. So everyone's seen this Go-Getter. I think these were available at like Walmart's and not Walmart's, Walgreens, and you know, other discount type stores. And I've tried running it, and there's not enough magnet with this like kids ABC letter magnet, so she falls over quite a bit, but it's fun to have around. Gets people laughing when they see her scooting down the track. Then we've got these are sweet. So these I ended up having to get when I was visiting my in-laws in Germany. These were at the time, the only 2 I was missing. And 2 of the stores I went to, one of them had this one, and one of them had this one. I couldn't get any luckier. But I've not run one, but they look really fun. So they are the fun cup. But they have one that's like black and red with Coca-Cola. They have where's that other one? They got a red and a silver. I think those two were more available in the U.S. than these two were. But you know that wing's coming off in the first 2 turns if you last that long. But yeah, really cool. They didn't make very many. There was probably, if I had to guess, maybe 6 to 8, if that many. So when you see them, people usually want quite a bit for them. So and this back in 2010, there were some. There was an English forum talking about a land speed race that Collector was putting on at Brooklands, I think it was, the really big track, high banks that they would do the like high speed ring for the Mercedes and Audi, the Aero cars. I'm drawing a blank at the moment. So we thought, well, they're going to do it. We can do it. We've got a 300-foot long warehouse. So we got a whole bunch of Carrera track. So we ended up having 220 feet of Carrera track. And we set up a scale mile. And I contacted Jules. And I had told him I wanted to try and get a car to commemorate our event. And since our main business is Ford and Lincoln Mercury car parts, greensales.com, shout out. And so we went with the Mustang, and then he put our Cincy Slots Land Speed Race 2010. Now for those of you that are big time Pioneer collectors and have to have all the super rare stuff, there were only 48 of these made, and the cones were all different colors, and I know I have probably 5 of them myself with different color cones, so we're down to 43. So if you're looking for a pretty rare one, even though the body's the same as the standard release, this one was only given out at our land speed race. So we got the Avant desert trucks. These things are wicked. I have driven these. I run them on my SCX off-road set. I bought 2 or 3 of those because that's the only way I was able to get more track. But this thing is an absolute blast to use on that, as well as the power slot Hummers. I believe there were, these, I believe they had this one that was black. They had a Toyo tire of the same H1 full body. They had another red and white one that was a pickup truck version. And then they had this one, it's all wrapped up. I didn't want to take it out. This one I got over in Europe when I was, again, visiting in-laws. Happened to stumble across this at a shop. But, they have a drop arm that probably drops, probably 3 inches at least. So it makes it driving over terrain pretty cool. And, you actually get to use the suspension of it, the drop arm. You can go up over the bridges, and it's a lot of fun. I'd like to do, like you see a lot of the European sites where they have rally with, they put the real white and brown powder down to simulate the dirt. That all sounds cool, but it seems like that would be quite a mess. And I don't know if they have to clean the engines when they're done. Their engines, the motors when they're done. I would assume so. The last and final car I wanted to bring out is probably at least in my opinion, the absolute hardest to find Revo slot that they've made. Why? I have no idea. But if you have one, you're extremely lucky. There is a guy that has called me a few times wanting to know if I had one for sale. I do have one. I don't want to sell it, but is anyone there with a keyboard that wants to take a guess on which Revo slot I'm talking about? Jamie? Anyone? Alright, so it is no idea, come on man. The Warsteiner Porsche GT1. I think I was able to get 3 when they were available. And I wish I had gotten a lot more, because I've seen where people are offering quite a bit of money for this car, but it's just too sweet. And it's supposedly one of the most correct paint jobs of this car. At least that's what a customer that really wants one told me, that there's this one and one other that was made, and all the rest are similar but not quite exact, and this one's supposedly exact. Somebody's message was not allowed to go through. I've never seen that one, yeah, because it's impossible to find, unfortunately. But I guess I could trade a real car and you can have this one, Jamie. Alright guys, that wraps it up. I think I am gonna get back to testing my vintage McLaren, another car you don't see very often with the big scoop and the Sunoco. I think I've only seen one other one. I'm sure there's plenty of them out there, but they did a great job on this. But I have to say the slot.it Matra will crush most of the vintage cars that we're racing at the shop right now. I drove this one around this weekend just doing some testing, and when I first put it on the track I was like, holy cow, this is going to be awesome. My Matra is really fast. I don't want to use the same one week after week. I want to try to compete with other ones. And when I put this on the track, I thought, okay, this is it. This one's going to do the trick. And 7.2 around my track is moving, especially for no magnet cars. And I put the Matra on, and it was way easier to control, and it turned a 7.1, and breakout on my track is a 7. So I was pretty close to breaking out with the Matra. So back to the drawing board. I may still use this. I used a Ferrari, I don't think it's out here, a Ferrari 250 GT from Fly that had a 3D printed chassis, and it ran really well for being that it's a 250 GT and short, narrow body, a little bit top heavy. So I got my clock cleaned that night, and last week I ran a P68. It did okay. Just barely made it in the points with that one. So this week I gotta decide if I want to continue my losing ways or if I should try to win the last week. So we'll see. There's some really fast guys at the shop now. We've been having great crowds, 17 to 20 people. I love it. They're all good people. Carrera Lancia. Oh yeah, the new one coming out. Yeah, that'll be pretty neat. I know with Sideways already having theirs out, and Fly having theirs. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold. I don't think any hot rods are coming. I don't recall seeing any, and I don't have my computer here at home to punch it up and see. But I don't remember any Carrera hot rods. I believe the Carrera lineup for this year is gonna be. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's gonna be just average. There's nothing that really gets me super excited. I mean, there's a lot of cars that I like, don't get me wrong, but there's not many that I'm like, I can't wait to get. Like the C8R was killer. I couldn't wait to get that. The BMWs 124 scale, I couldn't wait to get those. Just trying to think if there were any other. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on what 124 cars are coming out this year. But I'd have to think with all the race cars out there that we'd be getting some. We need to be getting cars in the 80s. Now that Mario Andretti, that would be. Oh yeah. You're right. That one will be killer. The GT40 from Carrera. 124 scale. Alright, I stand corrected. I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, I think next time I will try to do this with my laptop. That way I can see the comments on a running stream where here it just pops up when someone says something and then goes away for some reason. I've tried. But I don't know how to. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Now I could have done that 45 minutes ago. Okay, there we go. So anyhow, but I gotta get going. Still gotta finish the video on this guy. And my dirt modified, I gotta keep going on that. So, alright all. Thanks for tuning in. I'll probably come up with something next Monday as well. I typically do my videos kind of on a whim, so I'd probably get a few more people watching if they knew what time I was going to be on. But I just don't know myself. It's really limited to what my schedule has. So yeah, if there's anything that you want to see or want me to talk about, put it at the bottom. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you need any cars or quick shipping service that we do offer, check out our page at slot.it. Super tires, go get them. They're awesome. And on Tuesday nights, I believe Marty starts around 8 o'clock give his live feed some love. He always has a lot of people watching and a lot of good topics. So check him. Be sure to check him out tomorrow night, Tuesday. And you guys have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. See ya. Maybe.